Goodbye ERI is a one-shot manga that dropped last year in 2022 and was created by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who is of course most famous for creating Chainsaw Man. But this manga is definitely a different entity altogether, though it still holds some of the comedic flair that Chainsaw Man is known for. We begin with a boy named Yuta and see things from his perspective of a camera recording his mother's final moments of life. She's apparently sick and dying, and it's being sort of documented, though he's taking a lot of liberties by also recording random things like cats or whatever distracts him at any current moment. Not to mention the fact that he ends the recording by editing the hospital his mom is in, exploding, and giving himself a heroic jump away from it. And as expected, this strange and disturbing twist makes him the subject of criticism for not respecting his mom's death or just being a weirdo to even think of including something like that into something so serious. The bullying and harassment over his film leads him to want to climb to the top of the hospital and end his own life. Now, before I continue the synopsis here, I want to say something, and I think it's relevant to the story and its message. This short and sweet manga, for me, hit very deeply for multiple reasons. One is that I have lost a parent in my life, and I understand that finding ways to cope with it are incredibly difficult and might seem strange from outside perspectives. I also, for most of my life, always wanted to be a filmmaker. Particularly when I was in high school, I used to write and direct a lot of short films and even screen them to small audiences sometimes. And finally, I have also experienced a lot of harassment from my peers when I was going through school. So all of these points together make me come at this story with my own specific perspective, which means I might not interpret it the same way as you. But also, through that understanding, I think this is the underlying message of the manga. It's that art is a unique expression of the one creating it. And yet what the person creating it sees is not necessarily what the audience will see, because we all view a piece of art or media based on our own experiences and our own views of the world. We each have our own unique lens in which to interpret something. One piece of art that might inspire and save somebody's life by watching it might also be viewed as absolute trash by somebody else, and vice versa. Whatever your reason to love something is, or your reason to create something, it's yours, and yours alone. See, what happens next is Yuta meets a girl named ERI, who convinces him not to jump and even expresses that she loved his movie, that she just wants to see his next one and wants it to be better. So she invites him to watch a bunch of films with her so that Yuta can have a better understanding of storytelling and filmmaking, and the two of them bond over these pieces of fiction, these pieces of art. And it often gets brought up in life. Why are movies important? Because everything is fake and it's just entertainment. There's no real world use to having movies or TV shows or books or novels or manga. But I have always viewed that as the incorrect way to look at it. The reason why storytelling is important is because it contains the power to inspire, to teach, or to even connect us. I almost teared up watching Yuta and ERI just watch movies together and see them go through the various emotions that the films bring out. There's a power behind cinema to bring us together through that shared emotion, and to have an outlet in order to express it. See, ERI convinces Yuta to make a second movie, similar to the first, but to actually film the death scene this time, to make something that will make the audience cry. And so they go back and forth with ideas and scripts, concepts, characters, but eventually begin filming their own new movie. And spoilers going forward, it's a little hard to talk about the next part of the manga without getting into spoilers, but it's only 8 chapters, so if you haven't read it yet, go ahead and check it out and then return to this video, unless you don't care about spoilers, but that's the warning. So ERI connects with Yuta in many different ways over their shared love of film. She's probably the only person to understand his style of humor or laugh at him filming himself pooping. Yeah, that's in here. But the truth is, ERI is dying as well. Though in the movie they make it so she's a vampire and would be immortal, but fantasy is not often reality. But in movies, we can add that fantasy element. And this reflects back to his first film. We find out behind the scenes that Yuta's mom was actually an incredibly selfish and abusive person and wanted him to film her battle with illness just to satisfy her own ego of overcoming it. But she didn't. and also nobody saw that version. He edited the film down to make her seem as sympathetic as she could be so that she would be remembered for the positive aspects instead of the negative. And that's the other piece of this. Films are like these little capsules of emotion and information. You don't see the behind the scenes. You see only what the filmmaker wants you to see. It's a version of reality that's fabricated in order to tell a story that will give you the right emotions you need at that time that you choose to watch it, to turn something troubling on the outside into something positive in the present time. And it will serve as this little time capsule of that emotion that can never be destroyed. Yuta coped with death by creating art to make memories as positive as possible and adding his twist ending of an explosion because that's his own personal signature. That's how he likes to end movies. Which brings me to the last chapter, because after ERI dies, his second movie is screened, and this one does leave people with that feeling of sadness and despair as it was intended to. But after that, the manga jumps into the future, and we see a much older Yuta who just lost his wife and children in a car crash, and once again decides to end his own life, only to meet ERI once again, who really was a vampire, just like he told, but that she lost her memories, and the movie of her lets her understand who she was and what their relationship was like, just as films give us that understanding of what someone is feeling and going through. It's capable of making us understand someone's perspective and relate to it in our own life. That's what movies do. But they also have the director's signature flair, which to Yuta is an explosion at the end, which is how the manga leaves us. And just as the entire manga explains, art is up to interpretation. So we as the reader are meant to try to understand what was real and what was his film within this manga. And to me, the entire manga, start to finish, was Yuta's film, ending the only way that he could end it, his personal style. It's meant to be funny, but it's also there because I believe it's to present the idea of the artist's vision. We all cope with tragedy differently, some by sadness, some by humor, some by creating, and some by destroying. To take the horrible reality and the pain of death and to create a fiction in the form of movie making, vampire girls, and explosions, it's a way to deal with the harsh truths of life. And if an audience collectively views this, we can then all understand and relate to that creator's feelings. And then we take our own feelings into that consideration, and we can share those emotions with others as well as we watch them and as we experience them. Because fictional stories bring us together, and the fiction is a lot of fun, as it should be there, but it's the factual undertones that make us relate and understand. I feel like I understand this manga, but because of that, I also know that that's just my interpretation. So, if you guys have read Goodbye ERI, what is your interpretation? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Thanks for recommending me Goodbye ERI. I've been meaning to read it for a while, and I'm super glad that I did. I felt a profound resonance with it, and I really, really appreciated it. So let me know what you think about it down below. Like this video, comment to help it in the algorithm, and if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have a Patreon, channel memberships, and merch store link down below, as well as my various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.